Good afternoon. This is Andrea Lane with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Ambassador Real Estate, with 30 minutes with a realtor and stuck in quarantine. So I thought, what better way to um, talk about real estate than the person who's stuck doing real estate behind the scenes, which is my husband. Here, come forward a little. I have been a realtor for 14 and a half years. And obviously wasn't quite as crazy in the market as it is now. But the crazy what you have to do behind the scenes probably has never changed, would you say?
Yeah, there's always some interesting things that happen that to make deals come together.
So one of the first things, let's see if it'll let me share your picture, is that not only are you my husband, but you are also a veteran. And so I'm gonna post his picture. I have his picture from boot camp when he had hair, and from a really long time ago. I don't think it's gonna let me post it right now, but um, so so this is kind of a, you kind of get tomorrow off in a way, so that's kind of fun,
Kind of.
kind of. so um, oftentimes a lot of my clientele are military, and so he's one of my big parts of my story, which is that he is a veteran, but also works on the base in a contract position. And my dad was military, and so always the running joke for us is that I married my dad. um and so and so just the military tradition is kind of a big thing. So actually, when I got my MRP designation and went to go teach it, I showed you the book and you commented like, why are they teaching some of these things? This is irrelevant to moving. This is more like what the military deals with than it was real
Mhm.
estate.
Yeah, just some inside knowledge having been prior military and still working around the community as far as um, what resources the military gives to people when they have an assignment and what they're looking for when they are leaving or what they're looking for uh, when they're coming to a new base. As far as, I hear the people and what their concerns are in the workplace that I work. So I'm able to let Andre know what a lot of their primary concerns are.
Which is one of the things that we've talked about, is that you're not allowed to discuss real estate stuff
Yes.
um, when they're not working with me, because you've had people that had not great agents and had come to you
Right.
with questions where they were like, well, what about? And I was like, no, 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 you're not allowed to talk about that stuff, because legitimately you could probably sell real estate as good, but I know that's not your deal. Your deal
Yep.
is the support. You're like, I would rather be the support behind it than upfront selling it.
Yeah. Andre has told me, yes, I'm not allowed to give out free advice. I mean, sometimes I do a little bit, but I'm not supposed to give out free advice because I do hear the horror stories um, from some people and some experiences they've had. Um, but I also am. I think we're both very conscious of me not crossing any conflicts of interest with the people that I work directly with.
Which I would say is not necessarily with some of the realtors who uh, are. There's a couple active duty people who are realtors, and a couple stuff where that doesn't always happen. Um, so, with what would you say, or what advice would you give uh, from a real estate standpoint? What, as far as like, what are things that you've learned to maybe share, that I'll let you share this time, right? Is
Mm.
important when looking for a realtor.
Interview your realtors, realtors plural. Don't be afraid to let your realtor know that uh, you are interviewing realtors. Um, don't necessarily uh, just click the realtor that is in the ad that's selling it. I mean, that will get you a realtor, and maybe that's one of the people you want to talk to. Um, but it's always good to have options.
What would you say is a common issue you see coming in, or like something that comes in a lot?
Realtors not explaining the full process to their clients. They don't necessarily understand the steps that are going to happen. Uh, they get surprised by things and don't know other options, and some of the things that are commonplace, particularly maybe more on the financial side, I guess.
Okay.
Um, just being prepared for this is what's going to happen. Don't get freaked out. It's as normal. It happens almost all the time. That kind of stuff.
Okay. So, and obviously, a majority of the people that you are surrounded by are also veterans or who are working with VA loans. And I would agree that there are a lot of agents who don't know a VA process enough to explain things as to I guess the biggest thing I've run into recently are veterans who have money to put down and don't and are told, "Hey, I should just do a conventional loan," when the reality is even putting money down is good on a VA loan. And what that means, as what you're saying, for part of the steps. So I would say a big one I see is disability. Disability for a VA loan isn't a bad word. It's an opportunity for them to waive their VA funding fee. And I feel like oftentimes agents are afraid to ask if a veteran has a disability because it's kind of a taboo word. We've been brought up to think it's, oh, that's bad. You can't say that word. But for a veteran, that means if they claim greater than 10%, that they waive that VA funding fee. I mean, that can be a lot of money on a loan. If it's a first time use, say it's a 2.15, and then if it's a subsequent use, it's over 3%. I mean, if you're buying a $300,000 house, that's 3% of that purchase price is the VA funding fee. So that's, you could basically almost refurnish your whole house, um, and get it taken care of. What would you? So let's talk about the more meat and potatoes. I'm sure of what everybody's interested in. By all means, ask questions. We have the questions up in the bar. So I'm trying to think back on what was one of the first things, and actually it was military related, which is funny. I think it wasn't one of the first things we did, but it's one of the ones that sticks out in my mind because it was a lieutenant colonel, and the house he purchased had a play set in
Oh.
the back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
Yep.
And did you took the boys with you?
At least Caden for sure. I can't remember if Gavin was there, because the whole family gets involved, and the boys are 15 and 17 now, so they're as strong, if not almost as strong as me. So that really helps a lot. Um, Part of closing this deal, and I call these things jokingly to my friends real estate husband. I'm like, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I got to do real estate husband. Um, just unusual little things that come up in a transaction that have to be taken care of for it to close. In this instance, there was a quite worn playset in the backyard, and the buyer did not want it, and the seller was not capable of getting rid of it, and it had to disappear in order to make the closing happen. And so went over there with truck and trailer, and over the course of 2 days took it apart, um, took it off the property, disposed of it. Then additionally on that same property, I don't know if you remember, um, having a place out there was obviously a patch of bare grass or bare ground there. And again, after the place that was removed, we had to go back and to make everyone happy, you know, break up the soil, the hard soil, and get some grass seed down there so that it would look much more presentable for the buyer.
So what would you say is what's the craziest thing that I've made the family do? Because it becomes a family affair because, well, when the boys were little there was little things that they could do, and now they're older, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, they've we've moved fridges or play sets, we've mowed yards, we've shoveled sidewalks. um
I would say mowing is probably the most common thing, and we do have a slightly larger than average mower, and part of that reason is because if clients are out of town, um, and a property still needs to be maintained, either because it's still on the market or because it hasn't closed yet, I'll go over every other week or something like that if need be, and just take care of the yard real quick. Snow, trash cleanup. Um, Sometimes there's stuff left behind, like in garages.
Because
Uh,
I've had a couple hoarder houses where we had to like seriously get dumpsters and take stuff out. I've had that one of the hoarder houses. The yard got a little out of control, and you and Gavin went over
yep.
to mow that one. And so because it wasn't up to Gavin's hip.
Oh yeah, there was small sapling trees growing in the middle of the yard, that we had to take care of.
So what would you?
Chemical disposal,
Oh yeah, because under the
uh,
sink. Yep, yep.
just helping people. There's a lot of resources that we've become familiar with that everybody doesn't necessarily know about. Under the Sink is a good one. If you look them up, they have a website. You can, if you live in Omaha and maybe Sarpy, maybe part of Sarpy, I'm not sure what their boundaries are, but you can take household wastes there and dispose of them for free in an ecological manner.
Yeah.
They reuse what they can. They have a free store there, but just one of the little resources that we can help pass on to people who are moving out of a house and maybe have 10, 15 years of chemicals in the garage that and paint that doesn't even match any paint in the house anymore. That kind of stuff.
So we've done that. We did. I don't know what would you say is probably the craziest thing that I call it the stuff that HGTV doesn't show you behind the sale of a deal
Oh, I
where
know. And it's probably from that one house that you talked about already. Um, Posting things online to get them off of properties. I've done that
oh
several times, and one was a camper. There
and
was,
well it was more than just a camper. It was a pop-up camper that was in a two-car stall garage sideways, so not like where you could just pull it out. So you tell, because I don't even
we
know how
had
you
to
guys had got it out.
thank goodness the tires were flat and we were able to pump them up. Thank goodness they still did hold air at least that much. This thing was pretty decrepit, and we're able to push it out of the garage and posted it up. Um, I can't remember if it was Facebook or Craigslist, but got somebody to come and take it solely because they wanted the air conditioner on the top of it. But
Well,
again,
you're not telling all of this.
well,
So, like, it was a garage full of stuff.
yeah.
So, items had to be rearranged to get the trailer out. And then you didn't you use the winch on your Jeep to help pull, and the boys helped push. And then you we opened it
Well, we
up
opened it a
a
bit.
little bit because just as you started getting it
Yeah, you
open,
could tell it was had been totally infested by mice and was a total loss inside. And I shared all that information in the online posting, but again, somebody wanted it just for the air conditioner. So
but at that same house in transporting some of the stuff, you got a mouse in your car.
yep.
And, and
It was the
so
first time I've ever had to put a mouse trap in my car,
that house
in my
was
Jeep.
quite an adventure. But it's there's always kind of one that's behind it. We've done deep cleans, and that the family got involved in. I had a house that had was getting ready to close. They'd done their walkthrough, and the buyer was not as happy with the level of clean. And there were some items, like I think in the yard and on the back porch or whatever. And we took the trailer over. Feel like we need another trailer because it
That
gets
trailer is
used a
awesome.
lot. So, and had to well, Taryn was still in the bucket. She was still young. And so deep cleaned the fridge out, cleaned the countertops, pulled extra stuff out of the backyard. And these are what I call, I mean, there's nothing in my real estate training that said I have to do it. But when deals, are looking to get put together, there's a lot of behind the scenes that you that you don't see or that you don't know that your realtor's doing. Like we mowed yards at one of the houses in Papillion, and that one he hadn't mowed in a month, and so you wound up having to go back over it, didn't you?
I don't remember which one you're talking about. There's a lot of mowing, probably at least
But that one had
two
to be edged
two a
and
year
mowed,
probably
and
of
yeah.
properties that need mowing at least once. Yeah.
um you you get stuck going and being my muscle.
Picking up signs,
Well, you picked up signs. I
dropping
mean, but
off
you going to
signs,
showings. You've gone to showings with me
security.
because
Well, the boys do that too now that
yes,
Caden's
now that
17.
Caden's older, Caden comes with me also. Um, because we were actually house hunting with the one that was up in Keystone. Because I went to go open the door and it was already open. And you went and got the crowbar, and we still walked in it because we wanted to see the house, but it was one of those.
Yeah, just sometimes when you're meeting a new client that you have not met before, just being safe.
Yeah, so I drag him along, and he's my excuse to. I bring my husband along because I don't want to be chopped in little bits and found in a trunk somewhere, which I make it kind of a joke, but it's serious. I don't usually have too many people that are offended that you've come along with me for showings, or who feel it's awkward or whatever. I'm trying to think what else we've had to. What other like crazy? There's so many, but
Just some minor handyman type stuff, um, like attaching or reattaching railings, that kind of stuff. Like before something gets put on the market, before a house gets put on the market, or just basic handyman advice.
well, yeah, because I mean, the reality is that not everybody is handy living in a house. Like, just because you have a house does not mean that they're really good at, hey, my door handle on my sliding glass door doesn't work, or the garbage disposal, or just various stuff, I guess. Like, there's always something kind of weird and different. And my advice always to clients is to handle it before you get to the home inspection, because once it's the home inspection, it has to be a licensed professional. And there are some things that,
That you should leave to a
well,
professional.
yeah, like an electrical, like obviously never touch electrical just because it's not something we do, and um, or plumbing, but some plumbing is easy to do, as far as like getting the hair stuck out of drains, because that's a really big one. I'm the proponent to that one, is my hair gets stuck in a drain, and it causes the slow drain on a sink, and
Mine doesn't.
yeah. So I know it's always me, but you're always my excuse to people, which is that, he's had to snake our drain a couple times because it gets slow, and I know I'm the culprit behind it. Um, yeah, we had trash at a house in Bellevue recently where it took us 3 or 4 trips to get all of it out. They had a ton of boxes that were in the garage. And so it took 4 or so trips of having to put trash and recyclables out for it to get done. And both were veteran clients, and they were moving out of state and weren't able to get it done in time. So I remember, and luckily it was close to the base, so you were able to like
Mhm.
buzz past. Um, you're kind of my security for properties as they're listed and they're near the base and stuff, that I have you drive past them, or just kind of make sure nobody's doing weird stuff or parking in the driveways. Gosh, I'm trying to think. So your first house is actually
Yep,
also
it's a good story.
right. So you'd purchased from somebody you worked with.
Yes. Without, I purchased for somebody I worked with. They were moving out of the country, and it was a friendly enough transaction. Everything was smooth. There was no like disputes or anything like that. But as my first house purchase, and without any real estate agents involved, it definitely was confusing. And I don't know how we even did it legally, I guess, but somehow we got through it all. Um, it definitely, as a first time buyer, it would have been good if we had an agent there to guide me from, because I had no idea what was going on. after we were married, and we were looking at moving, uh, I don't remember if you were working with Tim at that point yet.
Yeah, I was assistant.
Uh-huh.
And
And decided that
to for sale by owner the property because I was in the midst of getting my
right,
real estate
right.
license. I was already one class in, started my second class, and I was like, oh, hey, let's dive right in and let's sell a house. And which is interesting dynamic when your first client is your husband. And I always say he's my worst client because he's so picky and has certain things that he wants or doesn't want. And when I went to price compare the property, he was like, "You're never gonna get that
Yeah, I
much.
didn't. Yep.
It's not worth it. You're not gonna get that." And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna listen to you, and I'm just going to list it at the price." And what happened?
You sold it for that price.
Which was 10,000 more than what you expected. So, and I was pregnant with Gavin at the time because it was
Oh, and this was
near
many
Cinco de
years ago.
Mayo. Yeah, this was, yeah, well, because I was pregnant with Gavin. So it would have been 15 and a half-ish years ago.
Hmm.
And, um, and it was hot because it was May, um, but yeah, and I wrapped it, got it closed, and it,
And enjoyed it.
yes. Well, isn't it more the bragging rights that
Well,
I
no, I just think
sold
you
it?
enjoyed the process and you know getting your feet wet, and yeah, and you just ran from there.
Well, because it was showing a house, knowing the house that you're showing,
Talking to clients, which
talking to the
obviously is
people,
somewhere where you excel.
and then okay, so well, you kind of brought up a good point. So, you always say that, well, because I always say I don't know, like when everyone goes, "Oh, I love this job," um, I everybody thinks real estate's easy, and there's a lot of behind the scenes where, like, I quit weekly.
There's a lot of venting that goes on, and I guess I think I've told you this before, but and I tell it to other people is that um, you are emotionally invested in with every client, um, and that I think is what makes you a great real estate agent. Um, it's not it's not just numbers on a paper and next transaction. You get involved with every client. You become friends with clients. Some of our best friends as a couple are former clients. Um, so just that when things are going well, you share in the joy, but when things are a struggle, um, you also share that burden with the clients. And I think the whole family does. I mean, as we go through this.
When I get dressed up or if I put makeup on, Taryn goes, "Mommy, you go show houses." And so she'll ask that I'm doing that because I think every kid has gone to show houses with me. Um,
Hmm.
Sometimes because my clients have kids and it helps them to offset.
Yep. They
Uh,
they do like I don't know if it's not really babysitting, but they can all play together, and then
so that mom and
parents
dad
can.
can walk through the house and they can do that. And I've done that with the kids since they were really little. When the boys, when I first got into real estate, the boys were 3 and 1. And I remember going on listing appointments and I would be like, okay, you guys just have to be good for like 30 to 45 minutes. And if you make it through this, then mom's going to get you a Happy Meal. And so, it was cheap early on because I could just do it for a Happy Meal. And now they're a little, I'm like, how about gas money? So I think that's kind of the fun of it too, is having them involved or the kids that they've met over time that have gotten older or that, I mean, because I've had kids full in my car in the van watching a movie so that mom and dad could go tour a house. I've at least 2 dogs that I have house sat for, no, 3 dogs that I've house sat for people that where it was a surprise for either an engagement or a birthday or gosh, I don't, when we watched Baby, I think he was just a Christmas gift or something. So I, for my clients,
Clients, yeah.
watched people's dogs.
That you obviously that you become friends with, and then after the fact, as
Right, that I helped him out
you're
like
involved in
June.
their life
Hmm.
and know what's going on, and they're
Hmm.
like, yeah.
Hmm. um, which is kind of the, I guess, plus and minus of the real estate, or that I'm it's more than just a transaction for me, is that can make it stressful sometimes for everybody. And um, but it's been kind of a good life lesson for the boys to see, or the process or hard work or that kind of stuff. Caden's really good with going to open houses with me.
And he's good at talking to people just like you are.
I taught the boys early on to introduce themselves to people. A lost art.
He's listening right now, by the
I
way,
know.
across the room.
And so they would introduce themselves to people, though, as a means of losing some of their getting in trouble. So they would always ask if we were going somewhere where they would get to meet new people. So I would bring them to open houses and stuff. Um, I'm pretty sure Caden probably could take somebody through a house better than me. Um, but yeah, he helped me with a couple open houses last year, like one in Lincoln, and just oftentimes, especially if they're further out, just so that I'm not by myself and in a house by myself, just randomly. But what, so you kind of touched on like having a realtor, the benefits of a realtor. What what would you say is like the biggest thing that people don't know being married to the realtor? Not putting you on the spot.
Um, I don't know. Just it's a lot of work. It's her day doesn't start maybe as early as a lot of other jobs do, but it goes later in the evening, sometimes up till like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And weekends, she'll be working on the weekends also. We do the best we can to carve out family time. But yeah, it's not a 9 to 5 job.
It's not three houses like the TV. Are you saying that?
Uh,
Like the HD TV where they're like three
oh
houses
yeah,
and pick
yeah,
one.
no. Well, I think that you're getting your own medicine on that because uh, our first house that we bought together as a couple, the agent that we used, we looked at a lot of houses with him.
But why did we?
We looked at a lot
Don't
of
blame this
houses.
one on me, because I can tell you why. You had how many cars?
Several.
And so the necessity that you had at the time was you wanted um, a big garage. And so the things that you were looking in a house were very not together. You wanted newer, but you didn't want cookie cutter, and you didn't want an HOA for somebody to tell you what to do, but you wanted to have your
I
six cars. And then
I didn't have 6 cars. I don't even know if I knew about HOAs at that point. And I think that speaking of things that people don't know about that you do a good job of explaining is uh, if you're moving into a neighborhood that has an HOA, making sure that clients know that there is an HOA, what additional fees there might be, what restrictions there are, because you're sitting down signing pages and pages and pages at the closing table, and you
well,
may
you
not.
said you've told me there's been more than one person who said,
Mhm.
I bought a house and had no idea there was a homeowners association or covenants where I could or couldn't do something.
Yep.
Yeah, which is absolutely baffling to me. But those were some of the reasons why it took us a long time to get our second house, was because, or our first house together, was you had very specific things that you wanted that didn't quite mesh with our budget at the time. Yes.
Probably.
Which is why you're probably one of my, like, in essence, a hard client, because at the time I was an assistant to the agent too for part of that time frame, and then got my real estate license.
Mhm.
And I think that's something you do a really good job of telling people, is that, for the first what year,
It helps to have a support system while you're getting your client base built up.
right? Because it's not just, oh hey, I'm gonna make $1 million. But that's what HGTV makes it seem like. It's, oh hey, I'm gonna get my license and I'm gonna still sell a bunch of stuff, and it'll
Mhm.
never, I don't have to work at it.
It takes a while to build up your network and referrals through good transactions with your clients. I mean, if you just The people that don't understand that are upset with their agent don't refer that agent to anybody else.
And I think it's interesting. Well, even there's a lot of agents, and I don't always, get work with all of them, but I get a chance to meet a lot of them. And so it's I mean, not like boot camp by any means from a dropout rate, but I mean, there's a high.
Well, the test is not easy either.
Which test?
The real estate test.
Oh no, like I failed it twice. So no, I get that. I don't test well, and that wasn't. But the reality is too, like the test that you take is not as
Right. It's like college versus your real job. It's
right. You has nothing to do with your job itself.
well,
Kind of does, but for the most part, like getting an opportunity to get in there and do it and so forth, which is why, like, literally you could have your license. I just need to license you to do my paperwork. Um, what parting words would you have for everybody
wow.
on the our 30 minutes with the realtor, the behind the scenes, the realtor husband work? Apparently I need to get that on a t-shirt.
I call it real estate husband. Yes. Um, Most of you have probably already seen me um, in one way or another. Or yeah, just I guess thank you for working with Andrea and
Oh,
helping her to grow her business.
that's sweet. Well, because it helps you guys too. So
Mhm.
yeah. So maybe we'll see Caden be a realtor too. Who knows?
I don't know. Never can say. He'll do something. I think he'll do so. Definitely do something where he's talking to people.
There you go. I was once told that in high school that one of my ROTC instructors wanted me to do something where I had to talk to a lot of people. So what you're saying is I did that besides being in a radio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's 30 minutes with a realtor. Thanks for joining us, and please share this with everybody. We appreciate that. And obviously, it's kind of fun to see the behind the scenes stuff that you get to see with a realtor, which is it's not just me. It takes the village. And when I post those things, that's true because sometimes it's the village behind me that you don't see, or the lenders and the title company and that kind of stuff that I work with, where you get a chance to see them and so forth. So maybe that's what I need to do. I'll have to sit down with the other Andrea that everybody gets to see on paper from
Yep.
the title company. So, Andrea, if you're watching, I'm going to come to you next to come do 30 minutes with a realtor. So,
That's a good idea.
we're going to be doing 30 minutes for realtor. I try to do this the first or second Tuesday, usually of every month. And we do 30 minutes where you can ask questions to your realtor and delve a little more into this world. So next month is Christmas time, and hopefully we're not all stuck at home quarantining, but
Mm.
we will at least work through some of the crazy that's going on right now. I thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.